Wednesday, April 4th. Welcome to CT Pulse on the HAN Network. I'm Kate Chaplinsky, and later on in the show, we have some drawing conclusions with our own editorial cartoonist, Doug Smith. But first on the line, we have Ridgefield Press staff reporter Peter Yankowski. He's been covering a lot of interesting news coming out of the Board of Education there in Ridgefield, especially surrounding Superintendent Karen Baldwin, who just announced her resignation yesterday. Peter, so happy to have you back on CT Pulse. Peter, you there?
Yep.
Okay, great. Yes, can you hear me? I know our Steve over there, one of our directors, can put the laptop down a little bit. We might be able to hear you better. Steve?
No, I think we're good.
Okay, good. Okay, so just to recap a little bit, Peter, Karen Baldwin, she is Ridgefield's highest paid employee. She was put on paid administrative leave, I want to say in early March, after some plagiarism issues. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
She was, I'm looking over my notes now, and it looks like it was March 9th. It was a Friday night. They went into executive session.
Right.
And stayed in there for a couple of hours, and then it opened back up into public session, and the board voted to put her on administrative leave with pay, and they also directed one of the board members, Jonathan Steckler, to hire an independent counsel to investigate the claims of, what was it? Superintendent's use of source documents was how they worded it.
Yeah, and this was actually interesting because, as you guys covered, some of these plagiarism claims were actually brought to light by a student at Ridgefield High School who noted that she had allegedly plagiarized a letter sent by a West Hartford school official following the Parkland shootings in Florida, right?
Right. I think that raised, from what I saw on social media and from talking to students, what they felt was that the fact that the letter was substantially copied made it upsetting, I guess, that it hadn't been something that she created, that she wrote on her own. But then we did reach out to a association that Dr. Baldwin is a part of, the Connecticut Association for Public School Superintendents, and they kind of indicated to us that there's sort of a resource bank of documents, so that superintendents are encouraged to use and share between them. So it's interesting because it's, on the one side, you know, you have these students who say, yes, she did plagiarize this, and it's, you know, she did something that we would be punished for, but then her side of it was that, well, it's in some ways common.
Right, and I remember feeling that at the time, you know, was it so serious that she had used this kind of source letter? But then as you guys got into this at the Ridgefield Press, you discovered kind of more of these instances of her not citing material that she was directly using in a lot of communications with students and parents and the Board of Ed as well, right? You there? Peter, did we lose you?
The one, yes.
Oh, I think you're breaking up a little bit. Are you there? Shoot, I don't have him right
Yeah,
now.
I can hear you.
Okay, there you are. All right. Maybe just our connection there. But yeah, so sorry, as you guys looked into this, you found a lot more instances of this kind of thing happening, right?
Yeah, we actually had brought the letter to light. The Ridgefield High student had an anonymous source come forward and showed us some other, which was kind of an interesting. But among them that stand out was there was a paragraph document produced by the Connecticut Center for School Change. And one of those paragraphs appeared in a memo that Dr. Baldwin wrote on October 11th. So we did reach out to them. They kind of indicated something similar. Was, you know, there is some sort of a resource bank here, but it seems like there was this pattern of misattribution, and in none of these documents does she specifically put this in quotes or say like it was originally in this document. So.
Right. Yeah, and so initially the Board of Education, as you guys reported, did open an investigation into the plagiarism, then they dropped it, but they did vote to enter into a resignation agreement with the superintendent, and the terms of that were just announced yesterday. Can you tell us more about that?
Sure. So under the agreement, Dr. Baldwin will resign officially on June 30th. But she's agreed to the terms of the resignation. So that'll go into effect June 30th, 2018, and she's going to be paid through that date. And then Dr. Robert Miller is going to be, who's the director of technology for the district, is currently the acting superintendent and will remain so until that date.
Yeah, and we should point out, as you reported, Baldwin's salary is over $233,000 a year. That also includes an annuity of over $14,000. So just looking at some of the reaction from residents when you guys announced the terms of this agreement, what are people saying about it?
Well, our first selectman study was behind it, but some of the response from residents has been not as supportive.
Right.
Definitely seems like the cost of searching for a new superintendent and the cost of continuing to pay Dr. Baldwin through the end of the year is, I would say, people have taken frustration with that.
Right. And, you know, part of this, kind of rolling into a different topic, but it's somewhat related, is that there's been this discussion about school start times among the Ridgefield Board of Education. I believe they voted in October that they would push back school start times in Ridgefield starting in the 2019 school year. And now we should point out, if you haven't been to Ridgefield, the high school there is in kind of a far location from a lot of people in town. If you live near Main Street in Ridgefield or you live in Branchville, it can take a long time to get to the high school. So there were some parents concerned about how early their children had to wake up in order to make buses or get to school on time. But now there's this pushback against changing these start times. We were hearing a lot last year from parents who wanted the change, but now we're hearing that a lot of parents are upset about it, and they're citing some of the controversy surrounding the superintendent. I know, for example, she allegedly plagiarized a report from Greenwich about their study on school start times, right?
Yeah, there's some pushback about that because I think people feel that the sentiment that I've heard is that, well, if this is under scrutiny that she copied from these documents, then, well, maybe everything that she's said should, every decision that the Board of Ed made with Dr. Baldwin as superintendent should be put under a microscope. That's been the kind of sentiment I've heard from the people against the start times about this.
Right. And it was so interesting. It seemed that the parents for the change in school start times were very vocal, but now this group has come forward, as you reported earlier this week, and they're saying that in a survey, can you tell us about the survey sent out, that actually most people were against this change?
I think that based on the survey that we results that we originally published, and based on the raw data of the survey, which a parent got his hands on through a FOIA request or a Freedom of Information Act, it does appear that there is a majority of staff, students, and parents are against the initiative.
Right.
And there's also an informal poll online, which can be kind of tricky to believe, but because some of the comments are from outside of Ridgefield. But it does appear that there's support for not changing the start times. The last time I checked, I think it was something like 600 people had signed the online petition against changing start times. So I think there is a significant pushback here.
Yeah, and I know we've heard, some of the arguments against it is this would have a significant impact on after-school athletics because the other schools that they play against do not have different start times. But has the Board of Ed discussed at all whether they would reconsider this decision?
No, not at all. Every time I've reached out to the Board of Ed, their chair has said that they're focused on the budget, and that it just kind of appears to be it appears to be kind of a done deal. And I think they've made a decision, and they really are behind it and do want to stick with it. I think that they'd take another look at it.
Now, Peter, I have to say, some people can think covering these municipal meetings are boring, but you certainly haven't been bored lately covering Board of Education. I think you even had some students walk out in protest last week. What's been the feeling like at these meetings recently with so much going on?
I think there's a lot more, to be fair, civic engagement. I think Ridgefield's always kind of had that.
Yeah.
So it's been interesting to sit in the meetings and watch the number of people come forward, people come and talk and they really do sit through most of the Board of Education meeting. Hats off to them. So I think that's been kind of exciting to see.
Yeah, it is very cool, and we should say that all those members of the Board of Education in any board in any town, they are volunteers, they are elected, but yeah, it is great to kind of see all this engagement that's been happening, and I'm just excited to see what you're going to be reporting on next.
Yeah, me too.
All right, Peter Yankowski of the Ridgefield Press, thanks so much for joining us, Peter. All right, we are going to step out for a break. We're going to come back with Doug Smith and some drawn conclusions right after this.
Want a new experience in car buying? Scap Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. We are Connecticut's Wrangler headquarters. Come visit our new Ram Truck Center. Our Ram trucks get the job done with unparalleled style and performance. Call, click, or stop in to find the new Jeep, Chrysler Dodge car, minivan, or Ram truck that you've been looking for. Family owned and operated for over 50 years. Save thousands right now at the Spring Sales Event, now through April 30th.
Welcome back to CT Pulse on the HAN Network. It's time for some drawing conclusions with Doug Smith, who likes to make his way into famous works of art.
Yeah, was that Edward Munch's The Scream? Is that what the...
Yes, The Scream, yep.
Yeah, you know, I was reading about that thing, and they say the red sky was due to Krakatoa, and that the reason he's screaming is because it was near a lunatic asylum or something.
Oh, wow.
I don't know, and now he's got me behind him on top of it. So.
In shorts with black socks.
Right.
So, yeah, that's the key to that.
My wife screams when I hear that.
All right, well, let's take a look at Doug's cartoons this week. Up first, tell us a little bit about this one. Well, this is kind of depressing because there might actually be more snow showers on the way.
There's just no end to it.
There's
so talk
no
about the
end
scream, I mean, if it snows again.
Yeah, exactly. So that could work for any of our papers, really. And up next, we have some Barlow. Oh, Barlow SRO. That's been a big topic that they're getting a school resource officer.
I mean,
there.
when I heard it, all I could think of was the old theater adage: standing room only.
Standing room only. All right, that's okay. I'm the school resource officer. And up next, we're talking about tolls. Tell us about this one.
Right. Again, you know, they're just saying it could bring a lot of revenue to the state, but it might work if only they keep their hands out of it.
Right.
And put it towards a transportation fund.
If we actually put it towards improving, some of our
but they're like kids with a cookie, you know, they're like kids with money and candy. They just can't stop spending it.
I like the bloated government drawing there. All right, and up next, this is the Rails to Trails path. This is Trumbull, yes?
Yeah, just some silliness here because of the storm damage. All the trees are down on the rail there, the rail trail.
Brewery downtown, Ales for Sales.
Ales
Check
for
that out.
sales.
Instead of going for a nice walk in nature,
I know. I was
trying,
I was trying to work a different idea. Initially, it was going to be drinking and driving. It was going to be Ales for Jails or something.
Oh, yeah. Well, I like it. I think you did a good job.
Thank you.
All right. Now going into Stratford, piping plovers will be returning any day now.
Back.
They are commuters.
They are.
See them getting off the Metro North train there. I like it. All right, and up next, SHS students are upset their graduation may take place somewhere else.
Yeah. They're talking about having it, I think, in Ansonia or Derby or something.
Right.
Because they're doing construction on the field, and understandably, the kids are upset.
Yeah, but it would be cool if they were able to do it there. It's pretty neat. And I believe this is our last one. Tell us about this one.
Right, that was last week in most of the papers, just the Easter cartoon. I wanted to make the pig as obnoxious looking as possible so people could laugh when
He does look obnoxious.
when they string him up and slit his stomach open.
Whoa, Doug, we didn't need that. All right, well, Doug, as always, thank you so much for joining us for some drawing conclusions. And we're going to wrap things up here on CT Pulse. Coming up at 2 o'clock is Nutmeg Sports. And next week, we're talking about the Me Too movement and Sexual Assault Awareness Month on CT Pulse with the Center for Family Justice. We'll see you next time.